Welcome to the Soldier Athlete Farmer podcast. I'm Jeff Strong, and this is a podcast for men who want to grow strong in body, mind, and spirit. Today's episode, we're looking at how truth and love, courage and grace come together in the life of a mature man. We're going to explore how being a soldier, an athlete, and a farmer shapes the way we speak, listen, and lead. There are moments as a man when you realize that strength isn't just about stepping up, it's about how you step up. I had one of those recently. I'm not going to get into the details, but it reminded me of this. Christian maturity isn't just truth-telling, and it isn't just kindness. It's what Paul calls in Ephesians 4:15, speaking the truth in love. Most of us lean one way or the other. Some of us, by temperament or experience, find it very easy to be bold with truth, but find ourselves pretty short on grace. We can confront really easily, but often not in a way that's the most loving and caring. And others of us avoid conflict in order to keep the peace. We see this as loving, so we sort of put aside the truth part and we just speak out of love. We want to be kind, but that means that we're either unclear or we're actually foregoing speaking any kind of truth at all. And God's word says actually both of these postures are immature. Real growth means learning to hold both of those together. And that is really hard, but it's the path to Christlikeness. Paul gives us a picture of this kind of maturity through the metaphors that he uses in 2 Timothy 2:1-7, right? Soldier, athlete, farmer. The soldier models focus and courage. He's not distracted. He knows who he serves and what his mission is. And when you need to speak hard truth, it's going to take that kind of clarity. The athlete brings discipline. He's not just exerting himself and trying hard. He's trying to train wisely. And one of the things that he's training is his ability to regulate his emotions, right? He's training his emotional control, staying within the rules, knowing how to engage with strength and emotional restraint, especially when things get chaotic, the adrenaline gets going, or when he's triggered by something that happens in the game. And the farmer reminds us of patience. He does the slow work of planting and tending, trusting God for the harvest. And that's what all of our relationships need, because that's what healthy relationships need. Steady, humble care, and investment over time. And so when these three qualities show up in our conversations, right, courage and restraint, and emotional regulation and patience, we're living out what Paul means when he talks about speaking the truth in love. And that's a huge way that we grow up into Christ-likeness and into spiritual maturity. I probably don't need to tell you this, but spiritually, it's possible to age without maturing, right? Just because someone is old in the faith, that doesn't mean they're mature. In fact, in one sermon I preached years and years ago, I shared the disturbing true story of a man who lives full-time as a baby. He wears diapers, he sleeps in a crib, he uses a high chair to eat, he's fed by his partner. In fact, his partner interacts with him throughout the day as if he is a baby, but he's a grown, at the time, he was in his mid-40s. It's cringy, it's disturbing, it's absurd, but spiritually, some of us are kind of doing the same thing. We're on that same path, right? We've been in church for years, but we're still living off kind of baby's milk. There's no deep roots. There's no strong muscles. We excuse ourselves with things like, well, that's just how I am, or God accepts me anyways. And yes, he does, if what we mean by accept is that doesn't become a barrier to entering into a relationship with God. But God is not pleased when we show up with a posture of, well, this is who I am, so you accommodate me. It's like, no, we have to learn to surrender who we are and our habits and our postures and both our strengths and our weaknesses to God. He requires us to grow up. That's what the word sanctification means. Actually maturing in your faith, not just in terms of your theological depth and knowledge, but how you express yourself as a follower of Jesus. And one of the ways we do that is by truth telling, right? Telling the truth helps us grow because truth requires something of us. A lot of us avoid telling the truth because of pride, right? It threatens our image. For other people, it's just a matter of laziness, right? Telling the truth takes work. It takes work to try and dig into and understand what God's truth, how that differs from the truths being offered by the world, cultivating discernment. It's a lot easier to stay vague and passive or just silent. But as psychologist Scott Peck said, mental health is a commitment to reality at all costs. And the same is true spiritually. Without truth, we live in illusions, and we live in delusions about who God is, who we are, what our purpose and place in the world is. So one of the ways that we grow up as a Christian is to tell the truth to ourselves, to others, to God. But telling the truth alone isn't enough. It has to be paired with love. And that famous passage in 1 Corinthians 13 where Paul talks about and gives us God's definition of love, he says, love rejoices in the truth. Right? Love doesn't avoid hard things, right? Hard conversation. Love doesn't avoid hard truths. It moves towards them, but with tenderness and wisdom. And that's within our culture. Well, that's what our culture desperately needs, right? Not simply louder voices or more charismatic voices, but voices that reflect truth and love held together. Not passivity, not righteous aggression, but men who have been shaped by Jesus and are learning how to show up and bear witness to truth and love. So here's a simple challenge, whether it's for this week or the next few coming days. Think of a relationship in your life where your interaction and communication feels off balance, right? Maybe you lean in this relationship a little bit too easily into the truth-telling part and love gets sacrificed. Or maybe it's the other way around. Maybe it's very easy for you to be silent and compliant and quote unquote kind to this in the context of this relationship, but it comes at the expense of actually being honest with the person. And I want you to think about that relationship and ask, what would it look like to take one small step toward restoring that balance of truth and love? Maybe that means starting a difficult conversation that you've been avoiding, but doing it gently. Maybe it means saying less, listening more deeply. Either way, it's important for us to ask the Spirit to help, to bring both our strengths and our weaknesses in this area to God and say, God, I thank you that you've made it easy for me to go in this direction, but I need to grow up in also balancing it and integrating this other part. And then we take the next step. We do the next right thing. And that's how a man of God is made. It's not by avoiding conflict in the name of love. It's not by dominating other people in the name of truth. But it's actually about expressing and modeling Christ, the one who always spoke truth, but always did it wrapped in love.